Okay, hi everyone. I am Cal Ewing. I'm a real estate investor and private lender based out of Houston, Texas, for those of you that don't know me. And I am extremely excited to be bringing in a special guest to talk about investing through your IRA. And I've got with me Derrek Long of Quest Trust, and he's an IRA specialist. And Quest Trust is based out of Texas. And you guys are basically self-directed IRA custodians. Is that how you explain the company, Derrek?
Yeah, that's a great way to describe it. So, and I'll dive into some of that stuff, Cal.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Derrek, for coming on and chatting for about a half hour about this. I've been wanting to have you come on and talk about this because this is something that, at least I think from my experience, a lot of people don't really know what their options are when it comes to investing their retirement accounts and just ways of different options, I guess, with your retirement accounts, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. So if you like, I'll take it over and we can just go ahead and get started.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go.
Yeah. So thank you, Cal, for the great introduction. As Cal was saying, my name is Derrek Long and I work with a company called Quest Trust Company, okay? Ultimately, what we do is we allow people to take their retirement accounts and invest into private assets. And I know Cal does this personally, and he has a lot of private assets that he does as well. And pretty much a lot of people refer to this as self-directed IRAs. And we're going to kind of dive right into that. So this is a very beginning class. I know we're going to be doing a web series to go over the more advanced stuff. This is just the first episode of a long series. So we're going to go ahead and dive right on in. Okay, guys? But the first thing I always want to go over is my little disclaimer. Okay, so the first thing is, guys, I'm only here for education. That's why Cal brought me on. I don't provide tax advice, legal advice, investment advice, anything like that. It's just education, okay? So when we kind of go ahead and look over what a self-directed IRA is, it's nothing. A lot of people have heard this term and they think it's some sort of special or magical account. But guys, I always tell everyone it's just a marketing term, okay? So the first thing we like to look at is, well, if it's just a marketing term, what is the difference? And the difference comes down to, where is your retirement account currently held? If it's held at a public custodian, you get to invest in public assets. These are stocks and bonds and CDs and mutual funds and everything that people are more familiar with when they think of the term investing, all right? But when you take that same account, whether it's an IRA, a 401k, whatever it is, we move it over to a self-directed custodian, you get to invest in private assets. And many times this can be long-term holds, real estate style investments, or maybe even owner financing of some sort. And we're going to dive into those. So ultimately, understand, guys, it's just a marketing term. If you ever hear the term self-directed IRAs, all right? So if we then look at the benefits of what a self-directed IRA is, the first thing is diversification. If my entire portfolio and all the money I have and all my savings and everything is diversified in the public sector, meaning I have some in stocks, some in bonds, some in CDs, some in mutual funds, I'm not really diversified. Everything's in the public side. So all we're saying is take a portion of it and move it to the private side, right? And have what we like to label as proper diversification, okay? The next thing, which is the real reason why people want to go ahead and use a self-directed IRA, is the tax savings. Anyone listening to this podcast or this webinar is a taxpayer, right? Every time I do an investment and I have any earnings, it doesn't matter what it is, comes back to me, I have to pay taxes on them. However, if I'm using my 401k, my IRA, a pension plan, whatever it is, I can actually avoid all the taxation. I don't have to pay capital gains tax. I don't have to pay income tax. I don't have to pay an earning tax, nothing. So using my retirement account, right, to invest in something, on the private sector is a great way to avoid paying tax. The last thing, okay, that I like to talk about a little bit is investing in what you know best. And this one kind of hits me on the head personally, and it's because I started off, guys, doing a lot of stocks, right? When I graduated college, I knew about investing, at least I thought I did. And I really wanted to take my money that I was able to save up and invest in something. So I started doing penny stocks. But what was really unique is anytime I called the broker I was using and I asked them, is this a good stock to buy? Oh, that's what they'd always tell me. And for some reason, anytime I asked anyone about any type of public asset that I wanted to invest in, whether it was a CD or a mutual fund, they all told me the same thing. I don't know if that's a good investment because I can't give you that, right? So why am I taking all my money and putting it over here and investing if no one knows if it's a good deal or not? However, that's where I started to meet someone like Cal and someone like Clint Rogers and even people like my dad and a few other people. You know, I was like, does this house make sense? Can I lend on this? Can I do this fix and flip with these funds? And they're like, well, no, it's not. That one doesn't make sense. It's going to cost too much. Or yes, this one does. And suddenly I was able to get an expert opinion's advice on something. And I was able to go ahead and take my money and invest in something that I like to label as investing in what I know best, right? And it was just a unique topic. I really hit home for me. So Cal, did you have a question?
No, I was just saying that it's crazy that when you were saying when you're first investing and they had no idea if it was a good investment or not, and these are supposed to be the experts in control of your money, right?
Exactly. It's really weird that these experts who have full control of my funds really don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So when we look of what types of plans that we can use that can be self-directed, the first thing always comes up is personal plans. It's the traditional IRA and the Roth IRA. Now, the Roth IRA, everyone thinks is the most popular, all right, only because they hear the most about it, which it avoids 100% of the taxation long term, okay? But realistically, the majority of our clients, somewhere around 70 to 75% of them are using a traditional IRA. And we'll talk about why at a later episode, okay? The next thing that really pops up is our employer plans, such as SEP IRAs, simple IRAs, or even the most popular being a 401k. All these plans can be used as a self-directed vehicle to invest into private assets. The last thing is something called specialty plans, right? And these are the Coverdell education accounts and the health savings accounts. Real quick, guys, Quest does offer all of these. And understand that if you set up any of them or move funds into them, you're able to invest in private assets. Right? And that is the biggest thing that we're looking really to try to teach people with this webinar series. However, as we go through this process, guys, there is restrictions. So when we realize that there's restrictions suddenly on our retirement accounts, what we can invest in, we have to dive in deeper because this normally will not affect the public sector. All the rules we're going to go over right now do affect in the public sector, but very rarely do you get the CEO of Apple calling up here with his IRA looking to invest into Apple stock. All right, so the first thing we have to look at is there's some investment restrictions, there's some transaction restrictions, and the biggest one is people restrictions. So we're really going to focus on the people restrictions for this, okay? So when we look at who the people restrictions are, we like to refer to them as disqualified people. Okay, and who do you think the first person is that's disqualified to using or benefiting from your investments using your retirement account? It's going to be yourself, right? That kind of makes sense. I'm not able to take my retirement account and invest in myself. So I always try to separate the two. I have me and I have Mr. IRA. And if I can really separate these two individuals, it's really going to help moving forward for investments. So pretty much what it's stating is I cannot take my retirement account and buy myself a house. I cannot take my retirement account, right, and invest in my company. The IRS says, hey, no, you just don't want to pay taxes. You're avoiding a distribution, and ultimately you're investing in yourself and receiving a benefit. But it's not just yourself that's a disqualified person. Little chart. Feel free to memorize it. Haha, no one's ever going to be able to memorize that except for me. So ultimately, this is a unique little chart that we kind of put together here at Quest to help people understand and see. But it really describes here on this little chart your lineal ascendance. So not only am I disqualified, so is my spouse, my parents or grandparents, and my kids or grandkids or their spouses. So this is a very unique group of people. Okay. The IRS says your retirement account can't invest into any lineal ascendants or descendants. You, spouse, parents, grandparents, kids, grandkids. I didn't label a brother or a sister. I didn't label an aunt or an uncle. I didn't say family. I was very specific with my list. And the reason this is wealth gets passed lineally, right? If my parents pass away, the first person that gets their wealth is the spouse. Next is going to be the kids, then the grandkids. And because wealth is passed lineally, those people are disqualified. Now, if any one of those lineal ascendants or descendants set up a company, that company is equally disqualified. Because the first question I always get is, oh, I'll just set up an LLC and let my IRA invest into the LLC. Doesn't make sense, guys. It's just an extension of yourself. Okay? So remember, you, spouse, parents, kids. If you have questions about that, let me know. Now, if you were to enter into one of these transactions and you invested in a disqualified person, you enter into what's called a prohibited transaction. No one likes these. The IRS loves them because this is where they get paid. If you enter into a prohibited transaction, ultimately you're going to lose your retirement account. No one wants that, okay? So after that, we have other things such as investment restrictions. These don't really affect us because it's life insurance. And no one listening to this podcast or webinar is looking to invest into life insurance. The other thing is collectibles. Collectibles being priceless paintings, antique vases, something like that. No one listening to this is really looking to do that, right? So if you have any questions, give us a call about this, right? And 855-FUN-IRAs. It's a non-automated line, right? We have plenty of certified IRA specialists such as myself and more that can answer your questions. So now that we went over the boring stuff or the scary stuff, let's go over what you can invest in with an IRA, right? And this is where we're really going to dive into why we're hosting this webinar and this podcast, all right? So when we're looking at this webinar and this podcast, what we really want to talk about is everything on this list that you can see. Mainly, I'm going to like to, if it's okay, Cal, I'd like to talk a little bit about seller financing or owner financing because it seems to have a lot of our clients doing that. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of my favorite strategies too. So
awesome. Awesome.
Go for it.
So when we look at what a seller finance is and how to owner finance a property using your retirement account, it really makes the most sense when we look at return wise, right? So if I take my retirement account and I have it sitting in a mutual fund, if we look across the board, the average mutual fund pays 2.5% to 3%. That's not very big. That's not very much when we think of the overall outcome. Meaning if I have $100,000 sitting in a retirement account, at the end of the year, I made a whopping $2,000. That's not very much. That's not enough to retire. However, when we look at some of the owner finance strategies and why they're safe and why they make sense for a lot of our investors, right? What they can do is they can take those funds they already have tied up, give it usually either to a specific host or take a property and lend it out to someone. And I like to label them as a renter. Really, they're an owner. Then they feel like an owner of the property, right? And this individual now is going to be making payments back to your IRA. On average, a great return seems to be about 7%, maybe 8%. That's a little easier to go ahead and live off of. That type of return is much more likely to help you retire in the long run. So that's just kind of, once again, this is just a basic platform, a basic strategy. I think we're going to be diving into more of this, aren't we, Cal? In some of our later episodes?
Yeah, and in the next video, I'd like to run some more scenarios with you and get more into the nitty-gritty on how that works as far as investing in real estate through your IRA.
I would love that.
Yeah.
So, boom. When we look at real quick, what are some of the next steps, guys? If you have questions about using a retirement account, all you have to do is send me an email, give me a call, visit our website, whatever you need. But Clint, from here, I was hoping maybe, did you have some questions for myself? I kind of flew through some of this information real quick. So this is just a very, very basic class for some of your clientele.
Yeah, well, I had a couple questions for now. So you're saying when you're talking about linear with your IRA, so you're saying that if, say, my brother had a company like a car wash or real estate, I could actually lend or invest through my IRA to my brother?
You sure can.
Okay.
The only
Huh.
reason that you want to be able to is if your brother is labeled as a beneficiary or someone who could potentially inherit the account. But if you long,
Oh,
most of the time, that's not going to be the case, right? Because who
yeah.
do you label as the beneficiaries? Your spouse or your kids. So,
Right. Okay.
but this is once again, that's how wealth is passed, is what we label as lineally. So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit more then about how you work with your clients in terms of A, getting this set up, and then B, like if I had questions like that as far as whether this investment is going to be within those guidelines, how would that work through your company?
So honestly, as long as you're not entering into a prohibited transaction, we don't really care what you're investing in, okay? Which is very unique about the self-directed IRA, and that's the purpose of the term, is you choose the investment. You're the one who vets the deal. You're the one who's really doing all the research, right?
Hmm.
When I have my money sitting over there at that CD or that mutual fund, understand that your custodian, right? Let's say it's Fidelity, is doing all that research. They're the ones doing all that. But that's why your return is so small, right?
They're
That's why
doing
you
all
get
the work.
such a big return. When you insert the documents or give the documents to myself to review, that's all I'm looking for. I want to make sure you're not doing something illegal or prohibited via the IRS. Understand you can set up an account with me. It takes honestly about 15 minutes to fill out the application. From there, we're going to move the funds in by moving over your old retirement account, whatever it is, that IRA, 401k. And from there, you need to find someone to invest in, okay, or find something that you're comfortable with.
Hmm.
And this is one of the reasons a lot of people, I think, like to use that owner finance strategy because it's very passive, right? They're
Yeah.
very used to when I did that mutual fund, I put my money somewhere and I didn't think about it anymore, right? I know I got a small return, but I didn't have to think about it. Well, when
Right.
it comes to the owner finance strategy, a lot of our clients, they like to take their money, they put it into this type of property, and ultimately they can now remain passive. They don't have to touch it every day, they don't have to think about it every day, and they're still receiving a much better return. So it's an easy transition. Now there's more complicated transactions they can do that they can get a bigger return, but understand that it will involve them to be more hands-on. Once again, that's why I think it's an easy transition between the mutual fund CD section to the owner finance section.
Sure. So then all the profits that they get, the interest that they're earning or whatever through their investments, that all goes back into their retirement account. They can't spend that. It's all back in, correct?
100%.
Okay.
So a lot of times when this question pops up, people are always telling me like, well, if I'm not benefiting from this, I'm not receiving any capital, why would I do this? Well, you have a 401k sitting there doing nothing anyways. You have a retirement account sitting over there and it's earning you virtually nothing. So why won't you still do this investment, understanding that you can't touch the profit until you retire? Okay. So if the money's already sitting there, you're not investing into it, something that you really understand, know, or trust, and you can get a better return over here, doesn't it make sense to move it over? Now, the advantage to you waiting to retire is avoiding the taxation. That's why the IRS will allow you to use your retirement account for these type of investments, is they're not going to tax you. So,
Yeah. And this is what I tell people is like, if you understand something and it's your passion or you're really interested in it, whatever that is, whether it be stocks or real estate or something else, chances are you're going to make a better decision, right? You're going to make a better investing decision because you understand it, you know it. And I think it's just a no-brainer for folks that maybe, mutual funds and stocks, for example, aren't your cup of tea and you really don't understand them. But you do get real estate, and a lot of people do. It makes just more sense because we're around it all the time. I think it makes a lot of sense to have your retirement accounts in something you understand because you can make these smarter decisions, correct?
not only that, but there's something called social investing that a lot of people really like to see, right? When I invest my money in a CD or a mutual fund, I got to be honest, I don't even know what it's doing. I don't
Yeah.
know where the money's going. I don't know really who it's benefiting. But when I go and I purchase a property using my retirement account, and I can see the property be fixed and flipped, right? I can see the owners that are living in there. I can actually go touch the piece of property. It's a physical, tangible asset, right? And I see the benefit it's actually providing the community. It's unreal. It really, really is. And suddenly I start seeing my retirement account be put back into things that I see, touch, feel, look at every single day. And I think that's one of the biggest things that no one ever talks about, because it's not a money benefit. It's a personal benefit. It's just something that makes you feel good. So that's a really, really big step into using your retirement account, is that social investing.
Yeah, you're able to better your community.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's a good place to stop for this video, Derrek. It gives people a really good overview about how this works. And then in upcoming videos, you and I can get a little bit more in depth on some of the different types of IRAs, perhaps, and other accounts you guys deal with.
Perfect.
We'll get more into investing in real estate through your IRA, because that's my bread and butter. So I'd love to get more into that as well with you. So
I'd love that, Cal. Man,
all right.
I'm really looking forward to this webinar series. And for everyone listening and watching this, if you have any questions, you give me a call. Just let me know what you need. Okay, guys? Is there anything else I can do, Cal?
That is all for now, man. I really appreciate your time and And we'll get you on again really soon.
Awesome. I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks, sir.